Welcome everyone to this session on International Relation Basics for GDPI. In this session, my goal is not to turn you into foreign policy expert. Okay, my goal is not to turn you into a foreign policy expert, but to give you enough clarity and language to talk confidently about India and the world in your GDPI. As a future manager, you will be working in a globalized environment. Today, we can see everything is connected: supply chain, client, someone here in Delhi or in Gurgaon is serving a client in a US or a Middle East. Regulations, technologies, okay, all are shaped by geopolitics. So, whatever we do today, keep one question in mind. If I am a manager in a company, how does this global issue affect me and my decisions? Okay. So why international relation matters for you? Here I want to show you why international relation is directly relevant for BA schools aspirants. Business decisions today are deeply shaped by geopolitics. Think of supply chain disruption after Russia-Ukraine war. Various sanctions were put on the countries. Okay. At the same time, when we see that Israel and Iran conflict was going on, we can see various sanctions were put and the supply chain getting disrupted. So business are highly deeply shaped by geopolitics. Oil prices shoots up if anything happens in West Asia, or currently USA is putting tariff on various country is another concern going on. B school uses IR topics in GDPI to see if you understand bigger picture. You can see the bigger picture and whether you can take a balanced, okay, you can take a balanced, non extreme views. Idea is not to test which side you support, whether you are supporting India or USA, China or Russia, but whether you can think in the terms of risk, opportunities, and national interest. So remember, we are building maturity and balance, not ideological rants. How our IR topics are framed in GDPI? On this slide, you can see the kind of questions often appear in GDs and interviews. The wording may look heavy, assertive, foreign policy, great power rivalries, the G20, BRICS, Quad, the opportunity or the burden, or the national interest, global responsibility. More words are like multipolar world, rule based, global order. Underneath, only one question is very important: how India or per se any nation is dealing with big powers and various global issues, and what are their priorities. You might have seen similar topic in mock GDs or previous year experiences. My promise is once you understand the basic story, okay, and the framework, to answer any question that we will learn today. You will stop looking like scary with these topics and start looking manageable. Now, the key international relation concepts. Now, understand these concepts, these are very important. Now, think of national interest like a human being, how you defend your self interest. Whenever you see threaten, you can start defending yourself, or you want to preserve your security and development. So, a nation also want the security, the development, the stability. Everyone wants to have a stability. Similarly, sovereignty. The meaning of sovereignty is to be supreme power. So every country wants to control its territory and the decisions. Now, the power. What is the definition of power? So power is generally understood as the ability to influence other, ability to influence other, and to make them work in your favor. It is said that for a state, it is important to have mainly two powers, but now we have a mix also. Like hard power, the military and economic, we can see in case of USA. They are military giant and at the same time they are economic giant and they can put sanction on any country. And if they are able to put the sanction on any country, this can cripple their economy. Another thing is soft power, like culture and ideas. India having yoga, food, or the culture, like Indian weddings, foods, are loved by almost every country, every region in the world. Now, today, there are two more concepts. One is a smart power, the mixture of hard power and the soft power, so that and when and how to use it, that's the ability of a nation. And another power that is sharp power. Act how much quickly you can act, okay, on any piece of advice, any piece of incidents, or any piece of project you get. Okay. Now, this is the multilateral versus bilateral versus multilateral. In bilateral, we are talking about two country ties like India or USA or India, UK. And in case of multilateral, many country platform like G20, UN, alliances and partnerships. In case of alliances, we can see a formal defense pacts like NATO, where if we see that if one country is attacked, then it can be seen that it is attack done on every country and they will come together to defend it. At the same time, there are partnerships like flexible and issue-based cooperations. For example, India, UAE are partners. Strategic autonomy simply means India want to decide issue by issue. They are not blindly joining any one camp. Like after Cold War, after the Second World War, world was divided into two blocks, USA and USSR. That is presently Russia. Okay. There was a pressure to join one of the bloc. India didn't join any bloc and keep its freedom to decide on case to case basis. Evolution of India's foreign policy. Let's tell a story of India's foreign policy with a quick time. After independence, we adopted non-alignment and punch. This is the same thing like earlier the strategic autonomy was called as non-alignment. In this, India made itself free from any bloc that it can take her own decision. In the Panchshil, we focus on peaceful coexistence. Okay. Focus on sovereignty and decolonization. India mainly focused on sovereignty and decolonization of the African and rest of the Asian countries. During the Cold War, we tried to balance USA and USSR while supporting newly independent countries of Africa. Post 1991, with economic reforms, once the USSR break, gets broken into various countries and Russia become a separate country and these Ukraines and other and the other Eastern European countries formed. Okay. So India tried to balance it with the economic reforms, post 1991 reforms. We adopted to start to look its policy, engaging with East and Southeast Asia countries like Vietnam, Singapore, Thailand, and the global economy. And we are started to take into the part of global economic integration with the LPG reforms. Today we talk about multi-alignment, working with all the major powers based on issues where our interests match. Like at the same time we are having Japan, America and India, RIC, Russia, India, China together. We are the part of both the blocks or both the world. How? Because we are dealing with all the major power based on the issues. So you can use these things. Key phrases you can use in answer are non-alignment, okay, multi-alignment, neighborhood first, act east, Indo-Pacific, focus on development and security. So these things were the basis of Indian foreign policy. So pillar of Indian foreign policy. This is very important slide. Five pillars you can reuse in almost every IR answer. Okay. The first one is the security. India's foreign policy looks into border, terrorism, maritime security, cyber security. Like in case of Pakistan, we have these as our core IR policy. Then economic development, we have trade, investment, energy with West Asia, like countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran. Technology access, we have tie up with USA, okay, and other European countries like Germany, France. Regional leadership, a stable and connected neighborhood is India's aspiration in South Asia and Indian Ocean. So India has made like SARC, BIMSTEC to remain connected in the world and to make it more stable and connected. The soft power like culture, diaspora, education system like IITs opening in West Asia, in Africa, the democracy, the developmental partnership. We have seen so many developmental projects in Africa with India's support. We have also made parliament in Afghanistan earlier. The rule-based global order, respect for the international law and multilateralism. These are set by the UN and the other global bodies. So there will be some kind of order, not the arbitrary decisions. So whenever you are stuck, take two or three relevant pillars, like whether it is related to security or regional leadership or power, soft power, and build your answer around them. Major institution and grouping to name. There are some global platform you should be comfortable naming, like United Nations Security Council. India has long aspiration for the permanent seat in United Nations Security Council. India has always assumed that this is its rightful place. Okay. Now the IMF and the World Bank, what they do, the finance and the development part. WTO rules for the global trade and dispute resolution. If something happen in case of trade, then dispute will be resolved through WTO. Then G20 is currently the major economies for platform where India has important role. Okay, India plays very important role in G20. Even India hosted G20. BRICS, emerging economy grouping. It is started with Brazil, Russia, India, China, Africa, South Africa, and currently other countries are also joining BRICS. Okay, Quad. India, US, Japan, and Australia joined together to have a cooperation in Indo-Pacific region. It is not a military alliance, but more like a cooperation and maritime security, mainly to tackle the China problem, their assertiveness in the region. India and the major power snapshot. How India has uh, how India has balanced its relation with the major powers. India US is strong in defense, technology, trade, people to people contact, some friction on the trade with respect to Russia, Iran, or currently we can say the visas issues and the tariffs. India China. It is big neighbor, one of the major neighbor with huge large trade, with a large trade. But we have a serious border disputes and also trust deficit. So economic opportunity as well as security concern in case of China. In India, Russia, traditional partner in defense and energy, relationship now adapting to new geopolitics and sanctions, like how India is dealing with the sanction put on Russia, still buying oil, and we are having a very deep relation with the Russia due to their help in 1971 war. Important for trade, India and UAE. Okay, important for trade, climate, technology. They have given so many better technological support to India. Now focus on standard and stability. Also, we are having FTA, free trade agreement with them. Try to remember at least one cooperation point and one concern point. Okay, that alone makes an answer sound very mature. Okay, now India and its neighborhood. Most IR question eventually come back to India's neighborhood. Under neighborhood first, India wants a stable and well connected South Asia because instability directly leads to the security and growth issues. Okay, very if we see very briefly what are the issues we are having with Pakistan, core issue is cross border terrorism, Kashmir issue, limited economic engagement and security concern. With Bangladesh, we are having a strong cooperation on connectivity, trade and security, but there are some issues related to river like Tista River, and, and another thing is migration issue, the illegal immigrants. Okay. With respect to Sri Lanka, we have good ties in trade, infrastructure, but the concern point is again the Tamil question and the maritime security. Our fishermen having issue, they are arrested in the that region. Nepal and Bhutan, we have open borders and hydropower tourism, and with Maldives, we have open we have Indian Ocean interest as well as we have tourism and strategic presence in Indian Ocean. So these are the major themes. Now current themes you can mention. Currently, world is now shifting towards multipolar world with rising Asian powers, mainly India and China. The 21st century is generally termed in the IR as Asian century. Okay. What is this multipolar world? In multipolar world, the power is spread across various countries, not just one or two. Like in case of unipolar, there was a time after the end of Cold War and disintegration of USSR that USA was having the complete power. It was a unipolar time frame. And generally the bipolar phase when the USA and USSR was fighting against each other in a Cold War period. Currently, we are moving towards multipolar world. Geoeconomics, how sanctions and supply chain disruptions, also technological restriction, controls, these shape the politics. The debate between the globalization and the protectionism, how trade wars, putting sanctions or putting tariffs, okay, these changes the way of trading and the globalization. The climate diplomacy, another very important thing. The climate finance, energy transition, just transition for developing countries is important. But how the responsibility of developed versus developing countries changes. The fifth and the last one is digital and cyberspace. How the data transfer, the platforms, the cyber security, misinformation is shaping the current themes. So even mentioning one of these intelligently, you can lift your answer. Like if someone asks you what is currently happening in the global politics, so you can say the rise of China, challenged by the old power like USA and the West. One thing. And another, the world is moving towards multipolar. Okay. So what is the framework? The next thing we will see the framework for your answering any IR answer, any answer. So this is the master framework. Always start with the context. Explain the issue in one or two simple lines. Okay. Then state India key interest. If there is, India is one of the party. Like is its security is getting affected, or its economic growth is getting affected, or regional stability is getting affected, or soft power. How India can use it. Now show some balance. Mention both cooperation side and the point of conflict, and then bring the stakeholders, India and the partner countries, region, global, community, businesses. And in case of way forward, the dialogue, diversification, reforms, stronger multilateral tools. Okay. If you follow this order, you rarely fumble in any IR answer because now you have framework, you have a direction in which direction you have to think. Now, example, how let's take one question. How does India balance major powers? Okay. Let's apply this framework to a common question. This one. India engages simultaneously with context in this. India engages with simultaneously with major powers for development and security with USA, Russia, Japan, China. Then mention the interest like defense needs completed by USA, technological access, European countries and USA, market for export, USA, European countries, energy security, West Asian countries. Okay, we import from China. Then make a balance. We cooperate where interest matches, differ where sovereignty or core interests are at stake. We differ from US also, we differ from China also, we differ from Russia also on various grounds. Then bring the stakeholders. In India, each partner, the neighbor, the global order, the Indian businesses, and the citizens, bring all of them and talk about what are the pro and the cons they can have. And then the way forward. Maintain strategic autonomy because this is one of the basic principle of Indian foreign policy. Diversified ties. We want a multipolar world. So we want to have various area of our influence. Support a stable and rule-based world order. Encourage yourself to adapt this skeleton. Not memorize it, but apply it organically on various topics will make the life easier. Now, This is the GD topic bank for IR. Okay. Now read each topic once. Notice how the same idea repeats. Foreign policy shift, taking sides, globalization, multipolar, neighborhood versus other. Explain all of these can be handled with same framework. Okay. You start with the context, then talk about India's interest, then talk about cooperation or the conflict, cooperation plus concern, if any, and then the stakeholders, and then way forward. Okay. A good practice is pick one topic from this list every few days, write one para GD script, write GD script, and maybe practice it with your friends or in mock, or even you can write it and put it in the comment box. These are the PI question bank, okay, where panel test your IR thinking. You can ask this question with your friends, or you can talk with you. You can think about these two questions. Okay. The interviewer do not expect you to recall every summit or treaty. They are not like that you know everything. But they care about whether you have some reasoned answer. Okay. Reasoned answer, not extreme. Okay. And anchored India's interest. Don't go against India's interest. Okay. During the GDs. You should prepare some short bullet points, one or two questions before the next session so that you can put it in the comment section and we can review it. The session summary of this. Now we are closing this session and connect what we have talked about this in last half an hour or so. Today, what we have learned? We have learned about the basic IR concept, the terminologies, India's key foreign policy pillars, the basic IR concept, the story. Now how India's interest is linked with the security, development, regional stability. Now, always aim for the balanced view, cooperation plus concern, and not just one side slogan. Because in international relation, no one is permanent friend or enemy. What matters is the interests. Okay. So best way is to pick one international news item from the newspaper, write 5 to 6 line structured answer, and make one page notes on IR basics. Okay. And remember, you are not trying to sound like a diplomat. You are not here to be diplomat. You are trying to sound like a thoughtful, having some opinion, thoughtful, globally aware manager. Okay. So this is the basic thing. Thank you. We will meet in the next session.